UFC 310 is tomorrow, Saturday, December 7th, and I'm just going to go give a breakdown of every fight on the main card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, and I'm going to give a brief rundown of who I think is going to win and just a general gist of why. And I'll try to keep it relatively short, just to not bore you. And I also realize this is a late upload in terms of like schedule. I'm literally recording this on Friday night before the fights, but better late than never. I got to start pumping out videos somehow. So anyways, Kennedy Nizuchukwu versus Lucas Brzeski. And this one's a pretty easy one for me. Kennedy Nizuchukwu by TKO in the first, or KO in the first round. Brzeski is just not good at all, in my opinion. He's been knocked out in a couple of his fights, and Nizuchukwu, although he's not like, he wasn't the greatest light heavyweight. He was okay, but I just think at heavyweight, he's just gonna have so much better of a time. Like, all of the unranked heavyweights are just trash. They just are. And any of like the previous unranked heavyweights that were kind of good, like Mick Parkin, Waldo Cortez Acosta, they're ranked now. So like literally all of the unranked guys just suck. So, and like I said, Brzeski's been knocked out a couple times, and I just think Nizuchukwu has the precision and has the power to be able to knock him out. And hey, Lucas Brzeski has lost 4 out of his last 5, and 2 of them by finish. He beat Walter Walker. Like, that's pretty lame, honestly. But yeah, without further ado, Nick Kennedy Nizuchukwu by KO. Another one, Chase Hooper and Clay Guida. This is kind of like, this is such like a polar match. Like this feels like a mismatch. Like, I know that Clay Guida is a veteran on all, and he's got so many fights under his belt. He's got close to 60 fights under his belt, and he's always crafty. He can find the finish, out of nowhere. But like, he's 42 and Chase is 25. Like, this isn't going to be close at all. Like, Clay needs to retire. He just does. And I know Jim Miller's still fighting, and I know who was it? Matt Brown was still fighting, pretty old, but like there's a difference. Like, Jim Miller still got like really good like finishing factor, and he still like looks kind of good. Like, Clay Guida is just like, there's a reason Chase Hooper's the minus 1,200 underdog or favorite. Sorry, he's the favorite. He's gonna sub him in round 1, easy money. Honestly, maybe not even worth putting any money on this thing, just because might not even get you that good of a payout. But whatever, you do you. I also did bet because I'm not 21 yet, so whatever. Don't listen to me on betting. Anyways, another one, Max Griffin and Michael Chiesa. This one's kind of on the fence. On one hand, you got Michael Chiesa. He's been finished in 2 of his last 3 losses. He tends to like to get Darce choked a frequent amount of times, and his last win is against Tony Ferguson. Whoopty dang do, you choked out Tony Ferguson, made it an 8-fight losing streak. So I think it's safe to say Chiesa at 37, and with all this, he's past his prime, and he just hasn't looked great. On the other hand, you have 20-10 Max Griffin, who's 39, and yeah, this is a battle of 2 old heads who just aren't that good. At least Michael Chiesa was ranked, and he had some decent hype behind his name when he started, and he is a name. Max Griffin isn't a name at all. So this one's kind of a weird one. I don't trust Chiesa on the feet. I just really don't. Griffin, I think, is good enough on the feet to like outpoint him to a decision. The trouble will come if Michael Chiesa tries to take him down and submit him, but then also Chiesa's pretty submittable himself. I could see Chiesa just taking him down and trying to ride it out to a decision. So it's, for me, either goes between Max Griffin, like kickboxing him to a decision, or Michael Chiesa just trying to impose his grappling to a decision. I'm going with Max Griffin. That's not a popular pick. I mean, the picks are near even. Most of Tapology has Chiesa, but it's Tapology, so whatever. Yeah, like, I don't have a strong opinion on this fight, but I'm going with Max Griffin by decision. I think he can just like outpoint him on the feet and stuff. Cody Durden and Joshua Van is an interesting one, though. Joshua Van, a really good volume striker at flyweight. He is small. He's 5'5", so that in theory shouldn't be small. I mean, DJ is 5'3", and Cejudo is 5'4". You know, we got John Dodson at like what, 5'2", I think. And you got Benavidez, who was small too. So historically speaking, he's not that small, but compared to today's flyweights, they're just bigger, and he's not that big. He just looks smaller in comparison to them. He did get knocked out by Charles Johnson 4 months ago, which is still scary. I mean, it was scary coming into the Edgar Chairez fight, but he won that fight. He kind of made it a war, which kind of concerns me, but I think he does still have the technical boxing ahead of Cody Durden. Durden did lose to Bruno Silva, and then beat, who was it? Matt Schnell. Yeah, Matt Schnell. Like, whatever. You beat Matt Schnell. Good job. I believe it was at bantamweight too. I think he beat him at bantamweight, which is a weird one. I could have that wrong, but anyways. Durden's going to have a decent amount of power. He's also going to have the grappling advantage, I believe, ahead of Joshua Van. I think Joshua Van will be able to stuff that. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. Like I said, the submission threat is there for Durden, but I kind of trust Joshua Van to outpoint Cody. I don't think Cody's going to knock him out. Like I said, he does have a bit of power, and Joshua doesn't have too much like KO power. He's much more like a volume striker, kind of like a Max Holloway. I know there's a lot of comparisons to him and Max Holloway, at least. Lucas Tracy likes to do that, but yeah, I trust Joshua Van to get it done. He showed that he can come back on short notice and win a fight against Edgar Chairez, and I think I trust him to do that against Cody Durden. I don't think Cody presents that much of a threat. But anyways, Chris Weidman and Eric Anders, another kind of old head fight. I mean, in terms of the middleweight division, Eric Anders isn't like that old. He's 37, which is getting there, but Weidman is 41. He hasn't had the most successful late career after losing the belt to Rockhold. In terms of wins, he beat Omari Akhmedov 4 years ago. Who the heck is that? And then Bruno Silva. I mean, he was looking decent in the fight against Bruno Silva, but he did kind of want to eye poke the dude into a technical decision, which is kind of crap. But I mean, he looked decent against Bruno Silva, and I kind of put Bruno Silva and Eric Anders kind of on the same boat. Eric Anders doesn't really impose himself too much. He knocked out Kyle Dawkins. Like, I'm not really impressed by a Dawkins KO, you know. It's not as bad as Chris Dawkins KO, but it's still like, you knocked out Kyle Dawkins. And he beat Jamie Pickett by decision. He's okay. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. He just doesn't impose his will enough for me. And I don't think he's going to really try to take it to Weidman. I think, like I said, Weidman is pretty washed up. I don't think he's that good anymore, obviously. But in theory, Eric could knock out Weidman if he just imposed his will and took it to him. But I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to stay on the outside and try and, you know, do his MMA thing, you know, do the mental MMA game, but not really like go at him with a dogfight. And I think Chris could impose his will on Eric Anders. I still think Chris has a bit more of a dog left in him than Eric does, and I'm just going to trust him to get it done by decision. So Chris Weidman by decision. Anyways, Randy Brown and Brian Battle. I originally had Brian Battle by like a late second round, early third round, like TKO. But Brian Battle missed weight today by 4 pounds. Excuse me. He missed weight today, yesterday, whenever the weigh-ins were. He missed weight by 4 pounds. Not only that, he looked really bad on the scales. And I mean really bad. The fight's still on as of now, as of me recording this video, the fight's still on. And if that's the case, I'm really scared for Brian Battle. Randy Brown is pretty decent. He's a pretty good fighter. He's pretty technical on the feet. He KO'd Muslim Salikov, which is a pretty decent win, honestly. He's only lost recently to Jack Della Maddalena, and that was by submission. So, you know what? I think Randy Brown's pretty decent. I think he might have a shot at the rankings pretty soon. I'd say if he beats Brian Battle, he should have a shot at the rankings. And honestly, if Brian beats him, he should have a shot at the rankings too. Why are we giving Themba Gorimbo a shot at the welterweight rankings and Brian Battle has to like fight everybody in order to get a shot at the rankings? Like he's won so much. He's beat AJ Fletcher, Gabe Green, Kevin Joussette's a pretty good win. Honestly, Kevin Joussette's a good win, and he's still not getting a shot at the rankings. I get it. Randy Brown's pretty good, but yeah, man. Either way, which one of these fighters wins, they get a ranking shot. Anyways, like I said, I'm scared for Brian Battle now. I switched my pick last minute. I'm gonna be honest. If this fight's still on, Brian Battle in the shape he's looking in right now, I don't trust him to beat Randy Brown. I just think some of that dog is going to be sucked out of him from the weigh-ins. You know what I mean? But yeah, this would be a close fight regardless. Like this would have been a close fight if Brian made weight fine. I'm wondering if something went wrong in that weight cut because normally he makes weight decently fine. But if you're missing weight by 4 pounds and still look really terrible, then something went really wrong. I wonder if he's like sick or something. But I'm going to have Randy Brown winning this due to the weight draining and whatever's going on. Like I said, if this fight's still on, I wouldn't be surprised if it's canceled last minute. I'm going to go with Randy Brown by TKO in round 1 or 2. Man, I'm really sad about it. I really like Brian Battle. I think he's a really solid fighter, and I'd love to see him in the rankings someday. I think he will be in the rankings someday, but this really scares me, and I don't think he's going to do it. Man, this sucks. Oh, well. Anyways, Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. Pretty easy pick for me, Movsar Evloev by decision. Evloev is not a finishing machine. He's got really good, he's got pretty good striking, and he has really good grappling. Not much of a submission threat. He hasn't subbed a lot of people. Excuse me, but I think his grappling is better than Sterling's. Sterling has a really good ability to take the back and just stay glued to the back. But Evloev's overall takedown ability and his scramble ability and his ability to cut angles while he's performing his takedowns, I think it's just so much better than Sterling's, and I think his striking is going to be better than Sterling's as well. Sterling has okay striking, but it's not great, and I just think Movsar is going to get the better of him in every exchange they're in. I'm going to be honest. I think every exchange they're in, Movsar is going to be getting the better of it. Yeah, pretty easy one for me. Evloev by decision. We move on. Vicente Luque and Themba Gorimbo. All right, we talked a little bit about this earlier. Why is Themba getting Vicente Luque? He's been pretty active, I will say. So I get that. But he's coming off of a win against Nico Price. Not great, and he went to decision with them. I don't really like that a whole lot, but then again, Vicente Luque over here is he just hasn't had the best record in his past 5 fights. Then again, he did lose to Jeff Neal and Bilal Muhammad. He beat RDA, but that was pretty win. RDA kind of fought a really weird game plan. And then he lost to Joaquin Buckley. He kind of just like covered up on the ground and gave up. It was really weird. He didn't even look like he got hit and then covered up. It was just they went to the ground. He immediately just like covered up and gave up. It was really, really weird. But I think, like I said, I think Themba Gorimbo is pretty... I don't think he's like really overrated because I don't think people are rating him that highly to begin with. but like in concept, I guess he's overrated if he's getting a ranking shot. I don't really know. I could see Themba just staying on the outside and like range fighting him to a decision. That's what I have right now. I'm not confident on this pick at all. This is my 50-50 fight of the card. I really like genuinely don't know who to pick. And I had to pick somebody for the video, so I guess I'm picking Garumbo by decision. I could look really dumb for this because Luque is going to have the better finishing ability in this fight. I just don't know if he has it in him anymore. That's why I'm picking Garumbo. But man, this is a really close fight. I wouldn't be surprised whatever way it goes. Speaking of something else, though, Anthony Smith and Dominic Reyes. Speaking of weight misses, Anthony Smith missed weight by 1.5 pounds at weigh-ins. Man, Anthony Smith is just kind of going downhill. He just keeps looking worse and worse in every fight he's in. And I know he submitted Vitor Petrino a couple fights ago, but Vitor Petrino was dumb for that. He was kind of outstriking him on the feet, and then he just decides to slam Smith while he's caught in a guillotine, which is a pretty stupid thing to do. Smith has kind of a submission threat, but it's not like, it's only a submission threat if you slam somebody while you're caught in a guillotine. Like, that's the only submission threat Smith has. Like, he used to be pretty decent, but now he's just such a shell of his former self. And the fact that he lost to a short notice middleweight Roman Dolidze, it's pretty lame. And like, Dolidze was like styling on him. He was like making fun of him during the fight. And like, Dolidze is plotty and slow on the feet, and he's just not a great striker, and you lost to him mainly on the feet. It's not a good look. I'm picking Dominic Reyes by TKO. I'm gonna go should I go round 1 or 2? I could go round 2. I could see a round 2. Round 2 is kind of a popular pick for me. Sometimes I'm pretty skeptical picking round 1s, and I've been more successful picking round 2 and usually round 3 in the past. So I'm going round 2. He knocked out Dustin Jacoby, I think, as he should, coming back, and it shows that he still has some good skill left. If he went to decision with Dustin Jacoby, I'd be a lot more skeptical, but he knocked him out in the first round, and I think that's what someone of Dominic Reyes' skill set should be able to do. So I trust him to do the same against Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith just is fading really hard as a fighter, and he's just so delusional to it. And Reyes is going to get it done. Reyes getting 2 wins in 2024. This feels really good. Anyways, Nate Landwehr and Doo Ho Choi. I got Landwehr by kind of like TKO in round 2. Doo Ho Choi, yeah, he won recently against Bill Aljo, knocked out Bill Aljo, but I just don't trust him to do the same against Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr is so much more wild, and he's so much more unpredictable, and he's so much more dangerous everywhere the fight goes. He has knockout power. He brings the brawl every time, and he also has submission threat. Landwehr has submissions on his record. And I'm going to trust him to finish Doo Ho Choi. Choi hasn't had the most successful career. I know he had a huge layoff of like 4 years. I know came back and got a win, but I'm just not going to trust him to do that against Nate Landwehr. Anyways, Bryce Mitchell and Kron Gracie. I could make an entire video, an entire angry rant video on this fight. How do you... okay, we're going to talk about this right now. And I know plenty of people have talked about this, but I'm still talking about this anyways because it makes me mad just as it makes everyone else mad. How are we giving Kron, a guy who is 1-2 in the UFC, he beat Alex Caceres 5 years ago, submitted him, decent win, and then loses to Cub Swanson, comes back after 4 years. He takes a 4-year layoff after losing to Cub Swanson by decision, which, by the way, was kind of a decent fight. Like, he got beat by Cub Swanson, fair and square. He got beat, but it wasn't Charles Jourdain bad, you know. You had 4 years to make improvements to your game in your return fight, and you made absolutely none of them, and you looked worse against a arguably worse opponent in Charles Jourdain. How does that happen? And not only that, you have lost your last 2 fights. One of them was 5 years ago, and another was a year ago. Because we're being specific, 5 years, 9 months ago, so almost 6 years, and then a year and a half ago. 2 losses, and you're getting a ranked fighter? How does that work? Like, what are the matchmakers thinking? Like, I know sometimes we have some like silly matchups we want, and I think overall the UFC does a good job in their matchmaking. And I think most of these are pretty decent matchmakes. The Themba Garimbo fight is definitely odd, but it's not anger inducing. It's just kind of odd. This is anger inducing. I am so looking forward to Bryce Mitchell using his Arkansas flat earth jiu-jitsu to completely blow through Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This will be the biggest hit to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in all of history, ever since Kazushi Sakuraba, right? I know, because like Kazushi like blew through all like most like 3 Gracies, and kind of dispel that whole thing, right? This is going to be the biggest hit to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Every time Kron Gracie steps into the octagon, it is a disgrace to his entire family lineage, and Bryce Mitchell is going to be the final nail in the coffin. Kron Gracie has the submission threat in this fight. He has the submission threat over Bryce Mitchell. That's it. He has a Hail Mary submission threat. That's all he has. If Charles Jourdain made him look stupid, what do you think Bryce Mitchell's going to do to you? With that being said, Bryce Mitchell by TKO in the 2nd round. I think he's going to make it out of the 1st round, and we're going to be like, oh my gosh, this dude's dumb. And I think Bryce Mitchell's going to finish him on the ground. Bryce Mitchell's not going to be scared of him on the ground, but he's also not going to be stupid enough to catch himself in a submission. Kron has good guillotines. That's what he has. He does have good guillotines. He has good rear naked chokes. But Bryce isn't stupid enough, and he's also a good enough wrestler. He's a very good wrestler. Probably one of the best wrestlers in the featherweight division right now. He's not dumb enough to let himself get caught by Kron Gracie. And Bryce Mitchell's going to win. Bryce Mitchell is going to win. That's it. Anyways, Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov. I'm done with angry rants. On to cool fights now. All right, I'm going to have Gane by decision. I know Gane's been out for a while. He's been shooting his movies and, whining that he doesn't get to fight Aspinall, even though he turned down Aspinall. And, I'm not a fan of, like, ducking fights and stuff like that, but I think Aspinall got a free pass when he turned down Gane. Because remember, Aspinall a while back was below Gane in the rankings, and Gane said, nope, I'm not fighting Aspinall. I'm not fighting down. And then Aspinall won the interim championship, and then Gane all of a sudden wanted to fight him now. And then Aspinall was like, sorry, I'm not fighting down in the rankings. He gets a free pass for that. Random rant. Anyways, I think Gane is just so much more technical than Volkov on the feet. I know Volkov has better grappling, but I don't think he has the ability to get Gane to the ground. I think it's going to stay on the feet. Excuse me. I know Gane got ragdolled by Ngannou, and he got thrown around the octagon by John Jones. But Volkov, like I said, he's a good grappler. Well, he's a decent grappler, but he's just not going to be able to get Gane down. And I know Gane's been inconsistent and out for a little bit, not fighting, but I still think he's the more technical striker. I still think he's the faster guy, and he's going to have a bit more power than Volkov does. And I think it's going to go kind of similar to their first fight. Gane's just going to pick him apart and win by decision. Anyways, Shavkat Rakhmonov and Ian Gary. Okay. Shavkat Rakhmonov, this is a battle of the undefeated, right? We got 18-0 and 15-0. Rachmanov all finishes in every single fight he's had, which is very impressive, but he has only beat Jeff Neal, Neil Magny, and Stephen Thompson in terms of ranked fights. Stephen Thompson's now, what, number 11, and is on a kind of a losing streak. And he only beat Kevin Holland because Kevin Hall decided to stand with him. He lost to, like I said, Rachmanov by finish, and then got KO'd by Buckley, which is crazy. And now Neil Magny's not even ranked anymore. Jeff Neal is the only like decent win he has. So kind of a not the best resume, but it's honestly it's pretty equal to Ian Gary's, who also beat Neil Magny and Jeff Neal. So meh. You know, and I guess he beat MVP. He beat MVP, took him down and rode the whole fight by wrestling. You know, I don't want to stand with MVP either. I'd wrestle him too. Here's how I think this is going to go. I think the first couple rounds are going to be mostly on the feet. I think Gary's actually going to have the striking advantage against Rachmanov. I know Rachmanov is kind of perceived to have the power advantage. I disagree with that a little bit. I think Gary is a much better technical striker than he is. Rachmanov is much more of a brawler, and he's hittable. He's pretty hittable. And I think Gary is going to be able to tag him on the feet for the first couple rounds. But once he gets to like the third, the fourth round, Rachmanov's going to slowly be able to start to take over, and he's going to be able to actually impose his grappling better, and he's going to drag Gary into deep waters. And I think on the feet, he's going to be able to find a shot, tag him, or be able to take him down, or both. And I think he's going to find the submission in round 4. I think this is going to be a really good fight. I don't see this fight being boring at all. And yeah, that's how I think it's going to go. Ian Machado Gary, I think he's a really solid striker. I really do think he's a solid striker. And this might be a hot take of mine, but I don't know how long Shavkat Rachmanov will stay undefeated. Even if he wins this fight, and I think he's going to win this fight by submission in round 4. After that, I don't know how long he'll stay undefeated. Then again, not many people in the division are going to be able to finish him like that. Carlos Prates probably has a good chance of finishing him, but I think his striking needs a lot of work. I think his striking defense needs a lot of work. But anyways, Alexander Pantoja and Kai Asakura. Man, Kai Asakura's not that good. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, he was a Ryzen champion. He's making his debut against the champion, Pantoja. But, okay, he's got some KO power. That's it. That's really it. Pantoja has taken a lot. Okay, if Pantoja didn't get knocked out by Davis and Figueiredo, do you think he's going to get knocked out by Kai Asakura? The answer is no. Okay, he's not. He's not going to get knocked out by Kai Asakura. He's going to out-grapple him, and he's going to find the submission in the second or the third round. I think it'll be, decently competitive on the feet, but Pantoja is just going to be able to take him down and do whatever he wants with him on the ground, and he's going to be... I think he'll eventually be able to find the submission. I know he hasn't finished fights in a little bit. I can't remember the last time he finished a fight. It was Brandon Royval 3 years ago. Oh, Alex Perez 2 years ago. So, in his title reign, he hasn't finished anybody, but I trust him to finish Kai Asakura. And I don't know how many people Kai Asakura is going to be able to beat in the flyweight division. I don't think he beats a Brandon Moreno. I don't think he beats a Brandon Royval. I think, especially Brandon, I guess both of the Brandons, really. If either of them feel like they're having problems on the feet, I think they'll be able to just take him down. Maybe he could, I don't know. I don't know about a Tatsuro Taira either. Maybe he could beat an Amir. I think maybe he could beat an Amir Albazi or a Kai Kara France. Yeah. I just don't trust Asakura to win this fight. And I honestly really hope Pantoja stays champ for a while. We need another divisional go, okay? It's going to be really hard to surpass DJ, especially at 34 years old at this point. But man, Pantos is just that good. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it, and stay on the lookout for more videos in the future. I got backlogs of video ideas, so all I got to do is just find time for them. So stick around. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.